My delegation, we have come from India with a delegation of 7 members of parliament and 1 ambassador. And we, in the 7 members, represent 5 political parties, 7 different states.
Our example.
There you are. 7 different states, 3 different religions. It's a diversity of India. But we are united in the message we bring, and that's what I'll be talking to you about in a minute. Our new ambassador has just presented his soft credentials this morning. So
I had opportunity after.
I arrived last night.
So we hope that he will be seeing more of you in the time to come. But may I briefly present my colleague, Mr. Bhuvaneshwar Kalita is a senior member of parliament from Assam in the northeast of India. Mr. Sarfaraz Ahmed is from Jharkhand in the east as well. Taranjit Sandhu is our former ambassador in Washington till last year. On the left is Ambassador Dinesh Bhatia. Then we have Tejasvi Surya, who is a member of parliament from Bangalore. To his left, Shashank Mani Tripathi, who is a member of parliament from a state that has more people than Brazil does, UP, Uttar Pradesh.
I was trying to explain to my barber today, where I went, that India has about 1/3 of our territory, but 6 times our population.
People, exactly. I envy your lack of density.
And of course, hundreds and hundreds of years of civilization before Brazil was even known.
That is true, sir. Very, very proud to recognize that. And finally, Harish Balyogi, who is from Andhra Pradesh, as you know, in the southeastern coast. So we represent, in many ways, the diversity of India. And the reason we have come is very much to seek greater sympathy and understanding on the part of our friends. And also countries that are not necessarily our friends, but you are in the high friends category, for our situation in recent months. In particular, the really, really serious attack on our country by terrorists in Kashmir, in a place called Pahalgam, on the 22nd of April. I must say that we saw the statement by Brazil. We were also very touched by President Lula telephoning our Prime Minister personally to express his concern and condolences. But as you know, in the couple of weeks that followed, absolutely no action was taken to bring the perpetrators to heel or even to look for them in Pakistan. We have identified 4 of them that crossed over from the other side, but there's absolutely no effort made. So finally the government decided it had to send a very strong message. And this is why on the 7th of May, India struck 9 terrorist bases. And I say this very carefully. You know, also from your years at the United Nations, and I think this is the first time I'm seeing you in an Indian capacity. I've always met you as a UN official. Let me say that here we are looking at organizations listed by the 1267 Committee at the UN. These are organizations whose terrorist standing is not in doubt. They're also on the terrorist designate list of the United States government. And their headquarters, base camps.
In the United Nations also.
Yes, in the sanctions, Terrorist Sanctions Committee, 1267 Committee. So I just wanted to say that we chose targets very carefully where every one of them was clearly and explicitly linked to, or the base of, or the training camp of one of these proscribed organizations. Second, we took great care to do so at night, 1:05 to 1:30 in the morning, to minimize any risk of collateral damage, civilians and so on. Normal life was, everyone should be asleep at that time. And then we also explicitly avoided any Pakistani government target, any civilian target, and any military target. So the whole idea was to signal we are not trying to start a war. We are just conducting retribution for an act of terror, which was a really vile act. 26 people killed. They singled out the men on the basis of their religion. They shot them dead in front of their wives and children. It was really horrendous. And it was meant, of course, to do the maximum possible damage to India, to disrupt the Kashmiri economy, which was booming, to end the prospects of tourism flourishing in Kashmir. Tourism had gone up by 100% in the preceding 12 months, to also perhaps create a communal backlash in India, because these people said, are you Hindu? Bang. Can you recite the first verse of the Quran? Then we'll spare you. And in fact, they spared one man because he could recite. And this was clearly intended to send the message. It is our religion that is killing you. And so the hope was that there would be a backlash back in India. And the Indian people, thank God, had the maturity to stay united.
No
Absolutely. Nothing like that. There were heightened tensions for maybe 24 hours, some minor incidents in university campuses and so on. But thereafter, the whole country rallied behind. And in fact, once the operation started, you would be so impressed to see the strength of opinion of all sections. And in fact, I'm proud to say that every one of our parliamentary delegations going around the world has this diversity of religion I mentioned. Mr. Sarfraz Ahmed is from the Muslim community, is strongly, solidly with us. We've had others leading voices from the Muslim community. And of course, the Kashmiri people, the Kashmiri chief minister, who was elected in an election with a 64% turnout quite recently. He has been really exemplary in speaking up for India and against this hateful terrorism. But you see, Celso, you understand these phenomena so well. I don't want to preach to somebody as knowledgeable as you are. But this is a particularly troubling matter because it is about the use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy. You know, when we struck those terror bases on the 7th, as I said, every one of those bases identified linked to terror. Next morning, there is a funeral at one of the sites, conducted by a person who's also named in the committee, Hafiz Abdul Rauf, who's an elite figure named in the United Nations Sanctions Committee. He is conducting the funeral, and look who's attending. Uniformed officers of the police and military of Pakistan. These are all military officers, and there are a couple of police people, senior officials. This is what is going on in Pakistan. This organization, the LET, has created this front called the Resistance Front, so-called. We have been reporting about the Resistance Front to the UN Sanctions Committee time after time. 3 times we've already given details. They claimed credit for the terrorist killings. The next day they repeated that claim. And then when people realized the gravity of it, their handlers in Pakistan got them to delete the claim. But the claim is on record for a full 24 hours. And what is deeply disquieting is when India encouraged our friends on the Security Council to mention the Resistance Front in the press statement that the Security Council issued, the Pakistan government, I'm sorry to say with the support of your friends in China, took out the name. So there is not even a reference to the organization.
I have many friends.
Yes, of course, and we are also your friends. But we are not on the council. These guys are, and neither are you these days, which is our loss. We have to change that situation, sir. Both of us should be on the council together on a more durable basis. But to come back to the story, so we conducted this. The Pakistanis were told very clearly, and the world was told, this is a retribution, not the beginning of a war. If you leave this alone, we will leave you alone. Pakistan instead chose to react with disproportionate artillery shelling on civilian areas. They killed 19 civilians in one district alone, on Poonch in Kashmir.
The Pakistani
Army. This time official Pakistani army attacked us. They killed 19 civilians. They hit a Sikh temple, a Gurudwara. They hit a convent, the convent of the Carmelites of Mother Mary. They killed civilians in homes. They killed traffic on the streets. It was absolutely shocking. At that point, we also retaliated. There was no declaration of war, but we hit them back very hard. The day after that, they sent drones and missiles. Over 400 drones came across our border, and they fired missiles. I'm proud to say our air defenses proved equal to the task. We, in turn, on the night of the 9th, 10th of May, hit 11 Pakistani military targets. These were airfields of the Pakistani Air Force.
It was when, more or less.
Well, we
to keep the calendar, this is more or less.
So the whole thing is 88 hours. The entire conflict was 88 hours. Because once we hit these airfields, and there are satellite pictures, not just from us, but commercially available satellite pictures, showing craters in the main airfields of the Pakistan Air Force, after that they asked for peace. They said, let's stop firing. There was a call. You see, the hotline between the two Directors General of Military Operations is always open. So their Director General called ours in the morning of the 10th of May, afternoon at 3:30, a formal call was arranged. They proposed cessation of firing at 5 p.m. We agreed instantly. And I stress this agreed instantly point because our line had throughout been, we don't want a war. Our line had throughout been that we as India are focused on our growth and development. We have no wish to do anything but promote the prosperity and well-being of our people. We do not want to be distracted by conflict and terrorism and war. But you cannot think that you people can walk across your border and kill us and go away with impunity. So the message was, if they do that, there will be reprisals. There will be a price to pay. But thereafter, we are not interested in a conflict against the whole Pakistani nation and people with whom we have no quarrel. Now, what happened as soon as this was proposed was that we stopped, and though for a couple of hours there were some people on the other side who violated the agreement, it subsided very quickly, and now we have 3 weeks of pretty much calm on the border. So the story is to that degree, for the moment, over. It's a story of an 88-hour conflict. But the larger lessons are what I wanted to talk to you about, and through you, I hope you will share our Prime Minister's concerns with President Lula, because the truth is that we really need understanding from our friends here. This is not some random incident. This is not some random incident, also. This is very, very seriously part of an organized effort by elements within Pakistan to systematically undermine the Indian state. It has begun at the end of the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan, when you had a whole bunch of mujahideen trained and ready to be unleashed somewhere with no place to go because the Soviets had left, so they turned them towards India and Kashmir. And from 1989 onwards, we have suffered repeated attacks. You yourself were in the UN when some of them happened. You were also very much aware, I know, both as Foreign Minister and as Defense Minister, of incidents including the Mumbai attack in 2008, when 170 people were killed. 2008. But it was 170 people killed, and India chose not to do this, but to take the peaceful route, because the evidence was all available. Dossiers were compiled. One of the terrorists was captured alive. His home address in Pakistan was known. Everything was identified. Western intelligence agencies, not just ours, had recorded the chilling voice of that killer in Pakistan, the handler, giving minute-by-minute instructions to the terrorists to shoot and kill each of their victims. While the killing was going on, the operation was being directed from Pakistan. All this evidence was collected. And we thought, the government, which was at that point my party's government, Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, thought that this convincing dossier will result in the end of Pakistani terrorism, that the whole world will tell Pakistan not acceptable, so on and so forth. I'm sorry to say it didn't happen. Full dossiers were given. Pakistan was put on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force. Not one person has been prosecuted, let alone convicted. Not one. They made a token gesture of arresting one or two of the names that we had provided, which were associated with the dispatch of this mission. The most prominent of them was a character who has since fathered children while he is ostensibly under arrest. Who has since fathered children while he is ostensibly under arrest. That is the kind of arrest that he is enjoying. It's a joke. The Pakistanis are not serious about terrorism. And this is why, time after, the Pakistanis say, let us have a neutral investigation. There could have been no more neutral investigation than the one of 2008. Practically half a dozen Western intelligence agencies had material that was shared and that was collectively presented to the Pakistanis. We said, here is all the material you need to prosecute these people and convict them in your courts. They gave one excuse after the other. But what is worse, sir, is the terrorist attacks continued. There was one serious attempt made by this Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, to make peace with Pakistan, which was on Christmas of December 2015, 7 years after Mumbai. He traveled to Pakistan for the birthday celebrations of the then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, whose granddaughter was also getting married on the same day, so he attended both. There was a lot of warmth expressed on both sides. It was a very spontaneous gesture by the Prime Minister, not a long-planned visit. And yet, within 3 weeks, we had a Pakistani attack on an Indian airbase called Pathankot. At that point, the Prime Minister invited the Pakistanis to join the investigation. I say all this because the Pakistanis are again telling everybody, let's have a joint investigation. We did a joint investigation of Pathankot. And what happened? They said, they went back to Pakistan and they said, the Indians did it to themselves. That was the last straw. I mean, the betrayal, the sense of frustration in Delhi has to be imagined. You are talking to a government that on the one hand is friendly to you, but it is unable to control the elements within its own system that go out and kill with impunity. Mumbai was bad enough, but the continuing series of attacks after that. So after this 2015 betrayal, the government decided they would now no longer take this lying down. There would be public retaliation, and it would be physical, kinetic retaliation. So 2015 September, there was an attack in a place called Uri on the line of control with Kashmir. We sent a surgical strike right across the line of control, hit some people very hard there. 2019, January, there was a suicide bombing by a terrorist from Pakistan. 40 people killed in Kashmir. This time we conducted an airstrike in their northwestern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, a place called Balakot. The purpose again was to show the old restraints will no longer be observed. There will now be open action. And this attack was serious enough to warrant hitting Pakistan's heartland, but only terrorist sites initially. And I want to say once again, if Pakistan had not chosen to expand the conflict, we would not have hit Pakistani military facilities. Our message is consistent. We are not looking for war. We are looking only to send a message to terrorists. But through them, we want a message to be heard by those who are providing them safe haven, by those who are financing them, training them, equipping them, guiding them, and sending them across the border. And those are people in Pakistan in very, quote-unquote, responsible positions who are doing this. Whether they're under the control of the civilian government is another matter. We will not speculate on that. But they are still happening. They are still coming from that country. And that country, if it's not willing to curb them, will have to face the consequences. That is precisely where we are, Silso, and I seek your understanding for this.